From 2-7 to 12-2. Dave Aranda engineered one of the biggest turnarounds in all of college football last year. The Bears were an afterthought entering 2021, but they ultimately ended up winning the Big 12 championship and the Sugar Bowl. So now the question is whether or not the Bears can repeat that success in 2022 and maybe take that next step and make the college football playoff. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys, ready to break down, predict, and analyze Baylor's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. A season where no one is going to overlook Baylor like they maybe did just last year. When you take a look at the numbers, guys, brought to you by College Football Encyclopedia, the Bears only returned 47% of their production. That's 122nd in the country. Not a good look for the Bears, losing a lot of talent from last year's 12-win squad. They were 53rd nationally on offense, 31st nationally on defense. So defense obviously a strength for Baylor, and once again will be this year with 7 starters back. Again, 31st in the country, but they were 10th nationally when it came to scoring. And this defensive line, guys, for the Bears is unbelievable. A defensive line that had 44 sacks in 2021 had 10 sacks in that Sugar Bowl victory over Ole Miss. 10 sacks in one game. They're going to be set defensively, guys. Loaded at all 3 levels. Offensively, that's where a few questions come in. Blake Shapen comes in, beat out Gary Bohannon for the starting job. He was the guy that beat Texas Tech in the season finale last year and then led the Bears to that victory over Oklahoma State in the title game. Beat out Gary Bohannon, now starting quarterback, but who's he going to have to help him? He loses Abram Smith. He loses Tristan Ebner, the top 2 running backs. He loses their top 2 wide receivers. The offensive line, extremely loaded. He'll have tons of protection, but he needs some big-time playmakers. Baylor needs help at the skill positions, and that could be an issue for them, especially early on in the season. We take a look at their schedule, guys. They shouldn't have an issue with Albany. Chalk it up as a win, 1-0. But then in week 2, they travel to Provo to take on BYU, and that's not going to be an easy win. It's not going to be an easy game. Baylor beat BYU 38-24 last year, but that was in the 7th game of the year, right? And that was also in Waco. So midseason in Waco, Baylor did very, very well against the Cougars. But now it's week 2 in Provo, a difficult place to play, and Baylor, I don't think, is going to have enough time to build the chemistry with the skill players. Where's the running backs? What are they going to do? How well are they going to be? Where's the chemistry between Shapen and his wide receivers? Are they going to have the offensive capability in week 2 to take down a BYU team that has a great offense, has home field advantage, and a very, very underrated and good defense? Are they going to have that? I don't think they will. I think the Bears are going to fall to BYU in Provo. Again, they beat them by 14 last year, but home field advantage is key, and obviously trying to work out any issues offensively, it's not ideal to be doing that against a good BYU team that, in this game, guys, might be a potential top 15 showdown. So Baylor drops that game. We do think they beat Texas State, so they're 2-1 entering conference play. Their first conference game is on the road at Iowa State, a team they beat 31-29 last year. And that was kind of the game, guys, that kind of demoralized Iowa State and showed everybody else that Baylor might be for real. And obviously they were, winning the entire conference. But here's the thing, guys. Iowa State lost so much from last year. They were disappointing enough as it was in 2021, but now they lose so much of their production on offense. I think the Baylor defense is going to eat that up. I think the Baylor defense is going to destroy this Iowa State offense. I don't think the Cyclones will stand much of a chance in this game. Even though they get to host this game in Ames, I think Baylor goes in there, wins this game by more than 2 this time, and the Bears are 3-1. They then get their rematch with Oklahoma State. You know, they fell to the Cowboys in the regular season, 24-14, and then beat Oklahoma State 21-16 in that Big 12 championship game. They now get to play them now. Oklahoma State obviously out for revenge because they were that close, like inches away from winning that game over Baylor. Unbelievable game, unbelievable finish. The Cowboys want revenge. They're not going to get it. It's not going to happen. Why did Baylor win that game last year? Well, first off, it was from great, exceptional play from Blake Shapen. He was on fire, couldn't miss in that championship game against Oklahoma State. He's back, right? The bigger reason why Baylor won was their defense that had 4 interceptions off of Spencer Sanders. That defense isn't going anywhere. The game is now in Waco. It's not even at a neutral site. It's strictly home field advantage for the Bears here, guys, and they're going to beat Oklahoma State at home. And I feel very, very confident about that. So Baylor now is 4-1 heading into their bye week before they take on a trap game in West Virginia. Major trap game, guys. Baylor beat the Mountaineers 45-20 last year. But you're looking at a midweek game at night in Morgantown. JT Daniels in now at quarterback for West Virginia. This is a dangerous game. And Baylor historically does not play very well in Morgantown. But I'm going to go ahead and give the win to Baylor. I'm going to give them that win here. They're going to slip up to someone that maybe they shouldn't, but it's not going to be West Virginia. Yes, the defense, might struggle a little bit against this passing attack of JT Daniels, right? But I think Baylor's defensive line does enough to pressure JT Daniels throughout the night. I think Baylor's offense at this point in the year, mid-October, has worked out any issues they have with the skill position and the skill players. The offense is starting to click a little bit. Only a one-loss team. I think Baylor beats West Virginia here. Everybody will be picking the Mountaineers to pull off the upset. I think Dave Aranda has his squad ready to go. They don't fall victim to the trap. They beat West Virginia. They should cruise past Kansas and beat the Jayhawks 45-7. And then they play Texas Tech at the end of October. And that's the game that Baylor will lose that maybe they shouldn't. They lose at Texas Tech. This comes at a really bad time, if you ask me personally, for Baylor. It comes right before the Oklahoma game. Obviously, that's a big game that has potential playoff implications and certainly has Big 12 title implications. So right before that game, Baylor might be briefly overlooking Texas Tech. And let's keep in mind last year in that season finale, Tech only fell to Baylor 27-24. That game was a lot closer than I think a lot of people expected. And now you look at Texas Tech, guys, a brand new coach in Joey McGuire, got a lot of offensive expectations. Now some say they could be one of the best offenses in the country. They get to host the game in Lubbock. It was close last year. And when I was looking at the numbers, guys, do I think there's going to be a 25-point swing between West Virginia and Baylor? Or could I easily see a 3-point swing from Texas Tech and Baylor? I could easily see more of a 3-point swing with the Red Raiders, a team that is going to be hit or miss this year, but does have the talent to hang and beat Baylor. Baylor drops the game to Texas Tech, and then the next week they fall on the road to Oklahoma. Yes, they beat the Sooners 27-14 last year, but now the game's at Norman. The game for Baylor might be a little bit hungover after the devastating loss to Texas Tech. And I also think Oklahoma and Dylan Gabriel are able to exploit that Baylor secondary that wasn't bad last year, but lost a handful of key pieces from a unit that was only 65th nationally. Baylor was only 65th nationally against the pass, really about that halfway point between all college football teams. I think Dylan Gabriel is able to exploit that in Norman, revenge on their mind. Baylor drops their second straight game. It's 3 losses, only 2 conference losses though. So the Big 12 title hopes and the wide open Big 12 this year, not over. They come back home, guys, and take on Kansas State. They beat Kansas State 20-10 last year. That was the game that Gary Bohannon got hurt in. So Blake Shapen came in, was able to kind of get through the rest of that game before they kind of gave him full reign and full control of the offense. Baylor's defense held strong in that game, beat them 20-10, and they're going to do it again. Kansas State's good this year, guys, but they're really more of a running team. Baylor's going to be able to shut that down. I don't have faith in Adrian Martinez to win the game through the air. It's at home. They need a win to get off this 2-game losing streak, and they're going to get it. So they beat Kansas State. I believe they definitely beat TCU. Let's keep in mind, revenge, really. That's the main theme here, revenge. If Baylor doesn't lose to TCU last year, they fell to the Horned Frogs 30-28. If they don't lose that game, Baylor is in the college football playoff. Baylor is in the playoff if they don't lose to TCU. If you don't think that is weighed on the minds of the coaches and players that are back for Baylor this year, well, you're wrong. End of the year, at home, senior night, Baylor will beat TCU, and I think they're going to beat them handily. Big-time rivalry game. In fact, on top of all of that, Baylor wins, and they win handily. They beat TCU, go on the road to take on Texas, a team they beat 31-24 last year. This is a tough call. Tough game, guys, because Texas should, and I believe we will, improve heading into 2022. But we've always said, how do you win a game? How do you control a game? And you control it up front. Control it in the trenches at the line of scrimmage. Who owns that edge? Baylor does. And it's not even close. Baylor owns a significant edge on the offensive line. Texas is not that great. They own a significant edge on the defensive line. Keep in mind, Baylor, 44 sacks in 2021, 10 sacks in one game. Texas had 20 sacks over the course of the entire season. Baylor owns a significant edge up front. Their defense will be able to shut down Bijan Robinson and force Quinn Ewers to win the game through the air, something that he's capable of, but something I think he's unable to do in the season finale. Baylor goes on the road, beats Texas. Some would consider that an upset or a shock, but Baylor, in all aspects for me, with the exception of home field advantage, is the better team. They will beat Texas, finish the year at 9-3 with only 2 conference losses, which means depending on how Oklahoma State fares, Baylor would own the tiebreaker. Depending on how Oklahoma fares, guys like that, Baylor is in a very good spot to get back to that Big 12 championship game and defend their title. And I believe that's exactly what they're going to be able to do. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Make sure to go check those out. Sign up for those today so you can win some big money and become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.